Alright, so on today's video, I am going to be installing some suspension parts, and this time it's going to be on the Silver IS, and I'm at my apartment. Yippee-yi, let's make some noise. So for starters, I'm going to install a brand new lower control arm. It is like the lower rear one, the caster arm basically for the Is300s. And I'm gonna change some tie rod ends and add some angle kits. We're gonna go with the GS300 tie rod ends with the Megan Racing shortened ball joints. They're supposed to be shortened by like 20 millimeters. Probably gives maybe like 40 degrees more, maybe 50 degrees more of angle, but that's more than enough for what I needed. I could go with like an easy knuckle or a KFD, one of those, which is all good. Honestly, I just went with this because it was a cheaper option, and I had them before, and I have them on Angel's car, and honestly, it works. And just looking at like various cars from Japan, you know, like Noriaro and Milky Diamonds and Heyman and a bunch of other JZXs and Is300s, they all have just short ball joints, whether they're from Kazama or Heyman knuckles or like Heatmaker. So I think they'll do the job and I won't have any issues. So I'm cool with that. I think for like front rod height, I'm gonna keep it at this height, like 3 or so fingers. That way when I'm on, I'm gonna get some G33 wheels, like the R33 reps from like Is300 Racing or Squares. And it's gonna pretty much sit like this with those wheels. And I get like a 15 mil spacer because they're like plus 15. So I'm gonna actually need that extra tracking. And I know those wheels are probably rubbed in like that. In the rear, on those same wheels, I'm gonna dump it a little bit lower. So it's gonna be like maybe right there. I'll roll the fenders. And pretty much that's gonna be it. That's it. All right, so pretty much all this is straightforward. So to get the caster arm out, you gotta remove those 314s and that 17 that bolts the caster arm up to there. Then you have to remove those 2 bolts that are right there. They're 19 millimeter bolts. That's just for the caster arm. If we're gonna do the inner and outer tie rods, which I am gonna do for the angle kit, of course you wanna break this loose first. It's a 19 millimeter, as well as this one right here as well. That's also a 19 millimeter. You wanna break those loose, hit this with a hammer, knock it off, and then we're gonna use an inner tie rod tool to get those out. Get the inner tie rod out. And for the ball joints, it's a 22 right there. Sometimes it might be a 21 depending on if you replaced it. And 2 bolts on either side. Those bolt to the knuckle. Those are like 17s, I believe. And that's pretty much it. And then right here, I got the inner tie rod out. So what you do, pretty much, you pull back the boot and you slide this ring. It's kind of hard to do it at once. You slide this ring over it. Then you tighten the bolts and then just turn and it'll all come loose. And there we go. All right, so I was recording for the ball joints, the angle kit from Megan and the rest of the suspension, but it's windy as shit outside at the moment. And it's like 15 degrees. So I took a break and now we back at it. So I pretty much finished all of that, and then I'll show you the angle now. And keep in mind, this is on stock wheels without any spacer or I plan on getting extended lower control arms. I think that's a good thing to do. And this is what it looks like. So as you can see, it's windy as hell out here. You can probably hear the wind, but when it's all said and done, boom, bang. Oh, and also for your GS300 outer tie rods, when you're running this kit, you want to flip them left to right. So the right one goes on the left side and the left one goes on the right. And that is for clearance on this, otherwise your wheel will hit it. Other than that, that's good. New inner tie rod, new outer, Megan shortened knuckles. This is the trailing wheel, which honestly isn't crazy, but also this isn't under load either, so to me I like that. That looks good. And the leading wheel, which is still not under load, and the car's off. So maybe if I turn the car on, it'll show us a little bit more angle. But for the most part, this is good. Okay, not really, but that's it. I mean, I'm happy with that.